Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Burns.
Yeah, Nancy Burns here.
And we're from Future Theater. And you know what we like to listen to?
Bang.
Radio on Sunday nights at 9 p.m.
At 9 p.m.?
What
Eastern.
network?
Oh, the best network on the whole entire internet. Inception Radio Network.
You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
Get ready to pang your head. Your radio host for Pang Radio, Mike Lucas.
Broadcasting live from IRN Studio North, this is Pang Radio. Welcome to the show tonight. We have on a great guest. He's pretty well known, actually. He's all over the cable networks on various UFO shows, but Peter Robbins will join us tonight. And I'm joined by my co-host from Oklahoma, enjoying a nice 65-degree day, Mr. Ken Storch. How you doing, Ken?
Hey, I'm doing fine, and hello, folks. Thanks for joining us tonight. It should be a good show. Looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah, I definitely am looking forward to it. And, Ken, I'm going to throw it back to you. You always have some good shout-outs, so go ahead and throw away.
Well, I got to definitely have a shout-out to Doug and Christy. I know you're listening, Christy, so how you doing up there in Missouri, and George and Patty, and I want to say hello to Lorna from La Pig. Once again, Lorna, thank you so much for all your hard work and research. And Dick and Maryland, and a special shout out to Lou Simpson in New Mexico, land of enchantment.
Very, very cool. Tonight I throw out my biggest shout out to my friend Deborah in Duluth, Minnesota, right across the river here in Wisconsin. We have another shout out to Mr. Robert Channer family in Monbulk, Australia, and he actually posted a map on our Inception Radio Network Facebook page. If we don't know where the city is, he definitely helped us out with that. That's awesome. And then we actually have Antonio Vasquez listening from Mexico tonight to the show. Very cool.
Hola.
Yes, hola, Antonio.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely, great.
There are a few different ways you can listen to IRN. You can download our app on the Apple App Store, Android, and even the Amazon App Store. You can follow us on Facebook by typing in Inception Radio Network, like our page for the latest updates, and UFO and paranormal news. We're throwing everything up we can from the Google News feed, so we're trying to get the latest updates on anything strange going on. Follow us on Twitter at I_R_N for the latest show updates. You can also call in and listen to us if you don't have a smartphone. The number is 401-283-6700. That's 401-283-6700. Press 1 for IRN and press 2 for IRN Plus, which runs specials and UFO conferences. Very cool there. Listen to us on Stitcher, TuneIn, Roku, Nobex, Live 365. Yeah, that's pretty much, you can listen to us anywhere. And with new cars coming with Android operating systems in the car, guess what? You'll probably be able to listen to IRN by just touching your console on your car, Ken.
How cool is that? You can cruise down the road listening to our show.
Yeah, you'll have your buddy say, you know what, I got your show on in the car right now. It's like, what?
Yeah, pretty cool. That's wild.
Yeah, some pretty wild stuff with technology. It's been really, really fast-paced the last 4 or 5 years. We've really seen some new innovations come out.
Oh, I think it's only going to get more intense as we go down the technological road, MJ.
Oh, definitely. Another shout out to, again, Marilyn and Dick Carlson. She has basically set me up to talk to John Ford on occasion. I had a little chat with John. Wasn't a very long chat, but we'll be airing that very soon, possibly maybe on a Sunday, another segment of John Ford. We let John make the call on that, so he's still able to talk to us via telephone. and a calling card, I believe, from the place that he's pent up there in New York. But it's great to talk to John. He sounds of sound mind to me, and very, very nice guy. And hopefully we can get him the hell out of there, Ken. Hey,
let me ask you, just for our listeners, MJ, do you find him lucid? I mean, he's able to follow a train of thought, and that he knows what's going on in and around him?
Very.
Yeah. That's Marilyn said the same thing. She felt the same way, that John Ford is very lucid, in control of his facilities. Thank you very much. And don't be laughing, George. I know you're chuckling. But yeah, and especially, I know we were talking before we went on the air tonight, in comparison to John Hinckley, and they're letting that boy walk around by himself for 4, 6, 7, 8 hours at a time. I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah, the crazy thing, wasn't it the report that they followed him to the library and he was looking up assassinations?
Right.
What?
Oh, gee, what's wrong with that? Oh, I don't know. God, how to buy a gun on the internet?
Right. Oh boy, yeah. And then you have John Ford sitting in there for investigating UFOs. I mean, come on, man.
I know. I laugh and throw puns out there in regards to that, but MJ, that's pretty damn serious when you stop and think about it. Mm-hmm. That they use the fact. I mean, that was in his initial criteria for putting him into a mental facility, was that he investigated and believed in flying saucers. That's crazy.
It is crazy.
Oh, wait a minute. They said he was crazy.
Right. Yeah.
God damn. Well, I should probably be a cellmate. I mean,
Oh, geez. And then you were basically working for a police force and investigating, and I'm sure you got a little bit of ridicule from your coworkers.
Oh no! Say it wasn't so. I had if you walked into the headquarters building of Aurora PD there in Aurora, Colorado, you could tell which mailbox, because we all had our own personal mailboxes within the department, and you didn't even have to look for my name. You could tell there people would put tinfoil around it. I had little space creatures. One time we had a call come out. There was a group of illegal aliens that but it was immigration, but they go, "Oh, send Storch. He's a professional in dealing with aliens." I mean, that kind of stuff. I took a lot of razz, but I would say 95% of it was for the most part in fun, and I gave as good as I took. Okay, I wasn't afraid to jump back. So, yeah, but you're right. Being in the public eye and being an officer of the court and everything, it was not a career enhancement on my part. That's for sure.
Well, you're long gone from that, and you're still enjoying and loving what you're doing. So that's all that matters.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I got some excellent training. I am very thankful for all the professional training that I received throughout my 31 years as a law enforcement officer.
Right,
right.
So. Big shout out to our chat tonight. We got Neutron Pan and Jim Bob Shorten there. Chat's a little quiet tonight, but it is getting nicer out. So I mean, it's Sunday. Everybody's barbecuing. They're still listening to us mobile. That's the cool thing about all this.
Exactly.
Right,
okay.
right.
I mean, how could you not go with Pang on a Sunday night? Huh?
Right. And some barbecued chicken and a nice cold drink and
Oh, I'm thinking like a margarita. Well, you guys are a little bit chilly up there in the north, Lorna? But down here in the southern part of the country, margaritas, tequila sunrises. I mean, come on.
I call them Kickapoo Cocos, so we drink a lot.
Kickapoo Coco.
Yeah, we drink a lot of Kickapoo Cocos up north.
Yeah, okay. That sounds like a cold weather drink to me.
There you go.
Go for it.
Well, everybody knows our guest tonight. He's a well-known UFO author, researcher. His really claim to fame is the Rendlesham Incident. So he basically has worked with Budd Hopkins. He's been on numerous TV shows, but he's a great guy, and we're going to bring Peter in right now too. And I have them all ready to go here, so we should get in here pretty quick here. So I plan to hit a little bit tonight, Ken. So to get
right on.
Right.
It's good to have a plan.
Oh yeah. Well, welcome Peter to Paying Radio.
Thank you.
Nice to have you.
Glad to be on.
Well, perfect.
Hey, Peter, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure, guys.
Now, Peter, looking at your bio, an interesting thing you said in the bio was that you don't come from this background in UFO research. So what got you interested in all this research?
Great question. There's only a few possibilities. People have sightings. They're intellectually open-minded. They know somebody that's had an experience. In my case, it was a pair of things that actually I guess I kind of marked the anniversary of in February. February was 40 years since I had a discussion with my late sister Helen regarding two things. A memory that had returned to me that had been kind of repressed from childhood for about 14 years, a memory that returned to me when I was in my 20s, and of a childhood sighting that I had with her. And her confirmation of that memory led to her telling me about memories that she had completely separate but related, namely what we'd now call archetypical abduction experiences. Now, this was 1975 that we had this discussion. The event happened in the early 1960s. And to say that, my life changed overnight is a figure of speech and not an accurate one. My life changed in about 60 seconds when my sister first talked to me about our memories and confirmed mine, and then went on to tell me about hers. I would have to say that now I have heard incredibly similar accounts as she first gave me back then, some hundreds of times, quite simply, from people from every background, every corner of the planet. But that was a life-changing conversation for me, and my life changed overnight right then and there.
Peter, what did your sister exactly tell you seen?
Well, we both remembered. She remembered her whole life, never forgot it. I put it out of my mind because the thought was just too challenging for me. I was an adolescent, happy, innocent kind of childhood. I grew up in a very pretty village about 30 miles east of Manhattan. And I would have to describe my life at 14 or so as having the sophistication of an old Leave It to Beaver episode on TV Land. And we saw 5 silvery white, disc-shaped objects coming in and stopping on a dime above the neighbor's house. They were in a very precise V type formation, the same way that fighter aircraft fly. They were not shiny like stainless steel, but more like brushed aluminum. And they were like tipped dinner plates. They were ellipses. And we could both see around the edge of each one regular detailing that only looked like windows on a commercial aircraft at a distance. But again, these were completely round. And after they came in at a high rate of speed, they just stopped and hung over the neighbor's house. And for me, I never really gave the subject of UFOs much thought as a kid. It just wasn't something that was of real interest to me. But all of a sudden, there they were, and I knew they were not like anything that I had ever seen before or could have imagined. I also knew that, they were real in the science fiction sense, but intuited the adult world message that they were not real in reality. I also was savvy enough to realize, to understand that there was a ridicule factor attached to them. And I knew, I think instinctively, that if I talked to my little friends about this, I was going to have fun made of me. My sister, on the other hand, was still in childhood, maybe on the cusp of it, but 12 years old. And in reflecting back to me years later, she said she had thought about it every day since then, but at the same time respected the fact that when she had asked me that afternoon if I wanted to talk about it, and I said no, we didn't talk about it from that time on. But she remembered archetypical phrases as she remembered being lifted off the ground in a sense of wonder, not fear. Her hair kind of flying in the distance, seeing the bottoms of these things get bigger and bigger, and then remembering being inside one, going through a metal hallway with beings that she described. And again, remember, this is 40 years ago, as little doctors with big heads and big black eyes who spoke to you in your head. Again, remembering back to her 12-year-old self. And the things that they said were so like so many other statements I've had in part from people who feel they've had the same kind of experience. We love you. You're special. We've seen you before. We'll see you again. We will not harm you, and so on. And to tell you the truth, guys, that day was not some wonderful, exciting day for me where I thought, oh boy, now I have this cool career looking into right. What the hell happened to my sister. All I had ever wanted to be from childhood was a painter, an artist. And I was doing just that at the time. I was living my dream, showing my work downtown. And all of a sudden, something superimposed itself on my life that had more mass to it, that needed to be answered more, that I became more obsessed with. And I resented it. I continued to paint and draw and show my work and teach for some years. But the real driving passion and the heart of being a New York City, painter had slipped away. And I still paint occasionally and draw for complete enjoyment, but not as a career. I guess my creative outlet has remained my camera and writing. But you asked me how I got into the subject. That's how I got into it.
Wow, that's amazing. Ken, do you have anything?
Well, hey, Peter, your sister's interaction with these beings, do you think she was implanted in any way, shape, or form? Did she ever have reoccurring occurrences with these beings?
There were a few that she explored with both Budd Hopkins, who many of your listeners know is arguably the father of scientific abduction UFO-related studies, and who was a very good friend of mine for 35 years. And for about half of that time, I worked as his assistant. So this was a subject very close to me. She dealt with at least one other experience, as I recall, with Budd, and with another remarkable but lesser-known investigative researcher, a man who was one of my great teachers, Detective Sergeant Pete Mazzola of the New York City Police Department, who was a crack New York City police detective and a very, very fine UFO investigator as well. And Helen did drawings of part of her memories for Budd and Pete, and never backed away for a moment for the rest of her life from any of the details of her memories.
There you go, Ken. Amazing.
Did she ever give you any kind of indication as to what their mission was here by coming to our planet?
Not that I recall. No. I don't think they ever let her know.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean that's one of my I guess quests for answers is exactly what is their mission? Why are they here? What is it about our planet, or maybe what is it about us that they find scientifically, or are we food for thought? Pardon the pun.
Yeah, I'd be glad to explore that for a minute with you, Ken. First, anybody that says that they know is to be regarded with skepticism, I think, or at least suspect. How can one know that one empirically and factually knows such a thing for sure? No matter, and it's certainly true that many very credible people that I've known, worked with, spent time with, who are convinced that they've had such experiences, and in some cases has been witnessed by others, have on occasion been told certain things. But it's not that I'm an untrusting person. It's just deception weaves its way throughout this whole abduction phenomena subject, despite the best work of outstanding investigators, researchers, authors, experiencers, and witnesses themselves. As Budd used to say occasionally, why should we trust them any more than we trust the United States Air Force?
Hey, thank you very much. Exactly.
And at the same time, I'm not so caustic or hard-blooded that I don't accept the very real possibility that not only are we dealing with a wide variety of thems. I'm not comfortable with the word alien. I never have. I usually find myself relying on referring to them as other intelligences. Do I think that they come from outer space, from other planets, from other parts of our cosmos? Sure, why not? I also am open to any number of other possibilities of where they may be from, why we, or this particular piece of tiny real estate that we reside on in this particular solar system is of interest or value to them. Some of them obviously may be, you pick a number, a couple of 100,000 years ahead of us. And then there's the delightful thought that others may be hundreds of thousands of years ahead of them. One would like to think that if you've been around that long and you have the kind of technology suggested by countless authentic film clips, true witness events, that you might well have evolved beyond having your primary activity murdering each other based over where you draw the line in the dirt. However, maybe they're just as capable of pathologies and as decency as we are. It's a whole world of what ifs, Ken. And for me, 40 years in this work, if anything, has given me a bit of extra humility regarding this question. There's a wonderful term, the definition of a Zen beginner, to know that you know nothing and have it be all right. Now, without bragging, I know considerably more than nothing about the subject of UFOs and their implications, but I'm very clear how little that really represents in terms of what there is to know, what occasionally a colleague or somebody that I hear about alleges that they do know, and again, what's just one person's opinion, which sometimes is unfortunately put forward as empirical fact, or your own fears, wishes, or longings put forward as agenda. Ufology is a very inexact science. We're not governed by any overseeing group. There's no AMA or American Ufological, as opposed to Psychiatric Association. We're not licensed. Our licenses can't be removed if we act unethically. To be blunt, all you really need to do to be, quote unquote, a professional ufologist is put your finger to your nose, turn around 3 times, and say, I'm a ufologist. And congratulations, you're a member of the club. I joke, of course, but again, I feel that people like myself better damn well hold themselves to the highest research standards, rational skepticism standards, investigative and scholarly standards, not to mention ethical ones, that you possibly can. in great part because we're on our own in this very exciting but still kind of Wild West type field.
Well, that was well said, Peter. Well said.
Oh, thanks.
Yes.
It's for me, it's a cause of frustration as well as pride. I find this work fascinating, and I know it's important, and I know the future ultimately will look back on the latter part of the 20th century and into the 21st century, certainly at the least, and say, you know, there were a cadre of people who really understood how serious this was. Granted, they didn't have all the particulars right, or they didn't have the thing in order, or there's no way they could have known this, that, or the other thing. But they put themselves, their reputations, their time on the line, and they tried to help educate others to what was coming. Some felt it was going to be, you know, by the governments or the first world governments having disclosure. Others thought it was going to be the intelligences themselves making the revelation. History now shows us that years ago it happened in such and such a way, and we all study it now in school, and, you know, we deal with these other intelligences as we choose to or need to or are forced to, and it's a brave new world. But yeah, there was a time when people thought this was a silly subject, and there's a reason for that. They were conditioned to think that.
Perfect. You know what, Peter? We're going to stop and take our first break. Excellent, excellent. Everybody, you're listening to Paying Radio on the Inception Radio Network. Tonight we got on Peter Robbins, and we'll be right back.
Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception Radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free.
Hello, everyone. Lorian Fenton here, host of the California MUFON radio show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, Paying Radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.
Howdy, this is Joe Mars. I'm inviting you to tune in to Epic Voyages, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday nights, right here on Inception Radio Network. To find out more about Epic and how you can become a member, visit epicvoyagers.com. That's EPICVOYAGERS.com.
Écoutez Pong Radio tous les dimanches à 21h Eastern, uniquement sur Inception Radio Network.
Hello, IRN listeners. This is MJ saying hello and sharing an awesome secret I discovered. It's called DreamNuage.com. Fresh, raw, organic ingredients are used to create all their products. They are made in very small batches to ensure quality and freshness. Handmade in the USA, each product is created with care and with the finest organic ingredients. There are no preservatives, dyes, or chemicals in any product. Stop by Dream, Nuage, and Relax. That's DREAMNUAGE.com. Simple, raw, organic.
You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
Welcome back to Paying Radio. Tonight we have on Peter Robbins, and we're talking everything from Budd Hopkins to Rendlesham to abduction, some Travis Walton. We'll be hitting every subject here. My question for Peter is, how did you hook up with Budd Hopkins? Can you tell our listeners that story?
Well, I guess Budd Hopkins came to national attention, and even outside ufology, with the publication of his first book, Missing Time, which actually added a very real phrase to the English language. Budd was first and foremost a painter, and a wonderful abstract painter. I'd have to say late period abstract expressionist. Moved to New York in the late 50s and began his career as a painter. Became involved in UFOs kind of on a tangent like I did. In his case, the year before me, or about the same year, I take that back, about 1975, somebody that he knew told them about a remarkable UFO incident he had been involved in, and Budd investigated it, and I believe it was his first case, and I think MUFON named it Case of the Year. He did that good a job. He was self-trained as an investigator, and the way that we met was when I was less than a year into my obsession with this subject, and that would have been about 1976, 5 years before the publication of Missing Time. I read an article in one of our local New York newspapers on this particular case. I had been doing some reading over the previous months, but frankly, this was about the best written piece that I had read. And amazing, the author lived in New York. And even more amazing, he was a painter as well. And I thought I knew his name because I thought I had seen his work a year or two at a gallery uptown, and in fact I had. And I went to the New York City phone book, and there was Budd Hopkins, only one of them, B-U-D-D with 2 Ds. And I just cold called him and introduced myself, told him that I taught painting at the School of Art, Visual Arts, my alma mater, which is not that far from where he lived. And his first question for me was, he wanted to know what my artwork was like. Being of different generations, he didn't sound absolutely thrilled by what I described to him. But he was very interested in the reason that I became involved in the subject, and very interested in meeting my sister, and invited me over to have coffee with him a few days later. And it's so funny when you look at your life sometimes and something happens, and of course there's no way to know at that moment that your whole life is turning on that one moment. But that's the way it is, and that's the way it was when I rang that doorbell for the first time on West 16th Street, just off of 8th Avenue in Manhattan, and this guy with a big smile and a very brown head of hair opened the door, invited me in. We went upstairs, and we had coffee at his kitchen table, and we talked about UFOs and art and life. And I should say Budd's wonderful memoir is called Art, Life, and UFOs. And I say it that way because I ended up having coffee at that table with Budd hundreds of times over the next 35 years. And our lives as friends, as colleagues, as a mentor and assistant revolved around those three subjects for the rest of Budd's life. We lost him in 2011, I think, to cancer at the age of 80. But he was a great guy and a great man, and that is how we met.
Wow, that's amazing. Just found him in the phone book, and that's a great story.
Yeah, and again, it was 5 years later that he became the published author who got him the attention in a field that he was very pulled about, because being Budd Hopkins in the world of UFO studies was not something that enhanced his career.
Oh, tell me about it. I know that one.
Exactly. Yeah. And if anything, it certainly hurt his career as a painter. His work was superb. Ultimately, it was in collections and museums all around the world. And anybody who was fortunate enough to have a painting or a drawing of his in their collection should be very proud of it. But Budd was a humanist, and he felt that this was the most important question that he had ever had come his way, and the most important question that was facing mankind. He was a marvelous writer, had tremendous courage, and I just can't say enough about him. He really was one of the most special people I've ever met. And I knew that even at its most boring in terms of filing or proofreading or office work or straightening up around the studio, we were involved in very historic undertaking. And I can't tell you how many hypnotic regressions I witnessed over the years. By the time he passed, I know that more than 1,000 audio cassettes had been logged in to our archives, most of them hypnotic regressions, but many of them interviews. And it is a remarkable body of work.
Peter, we have a question from chat. This is from Neutron, our buddy Neutron. The Intruder, is The Intruders movie a true representation of Budd Hopkins' life?
Boy, great question. Like most situations where a true story or stories are made into a film, things are changed, things are adjusted, sometimes in a fairly harmless way, and the quality of the story doesn't suffer, other times in outrageous ways, and you end up with an almost different story. What happened with Intruders, the miniseries, and what we're talking about here, folks, is I believe it was 4 hours of programming, 2 hours over 2 consecutive nights, 25 years ago at least, where CBS showed this miniseries called Intruders. It starred a wonderful actress, Mare Winningham, and a great actor, Richard Crenna. Ben Vereen was in it, in a totally contrived character, but a very moving one, I thought. And CBS had gone to Budd, I remember it all well because I worked through this period, and asked to option his second book, Intruders. It had been optioned, and they decided, well, let's take the option on the first book, Missing Time. The option for Intruders over the next months was then returned, and they picked that up. They then had their screenwriter create a miniseries that wove both stories together to some degree, but still centered around the story of a very real woman named in real life Debbie Jordan Cabell, who still lives in Indiana, not far from the events that she went through that are so well documented in Intruders. So both of those stories were woven into Intruders, but you know what? I think it's very good, all things considered, was certainly Vanguard Television at the time. And Ben Vereen, and it's an example of, Budd did not like it, but he didn't hate it because it was well written. Ben Vereen played a character that had nothing to do with either book, but was inserted for the sake of drama. And drama it was. In fact, I felt he should have won the Emmy that year. He played a man who had been a MP, a military police officer at the site of the original Roswell crash, and who had an emotional breakdown around it and was institutionalized in a military institution, couldn't be allowed out, but somehow one of the principals gets to speak to him, and it's a very powerful soliloquy, but again, having nothing to do with the story. But yes, I believe that's available. If it's not on Netflix, surely some film service must have or allow you to download Intruders, the miniseries, CBS, I don't remember the year.
Oh, I was not aware of that. I am going to find that myself.
It's very cool, and it has its moments. Some of them were absolutely phenomenal. I also, for anybody that does watch it, as somebody that has tremendous admiration for the work of actors and who has many friends who are actors and has worked with them, Richard Crenna, a good, wonderful, old-fashioned method actor, came to Budd's studio and home for several days and basically followed him around and observed him in domestic, professional, UFO-related, art-related situations. And it's wonderful to see him work to act in this television piece, because he really carries it off very well. As I recall, I may be wrong here, I think they didn't want to make Budd a painter because they felt, even though the fact that he was a painter, he was still a brilliant self-taught investigative writer. But they made him a psychologist, which was just fine. I think that was a fair deal. And yes, that is a fairly outstanding piece of abduction-related media treatment that's pretty damn good, considering how much has been put out on the subject in the intervening years.
Right. Ken, you got something?
Hey, Peter, did Budd ever indicate to you, and I'll pose this question to you also, did he ever get any harassment from the authorities, from the government, as far as his works go?
Yeah, a fair question. The government, maybe if it was in very disguised form or not so disguised, I think the most overt example of that possibility came in the form of a professional debunker, not skeptic, named Philip Klass.
Know him well. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm strangely proud to say that his personal attack against my sister's experience and why it couldn't have happened, because of course none of these things can happen, and it was Phil's job to assist us all in understanding how simple-minded we were, appears in the same book where he takes on Travis Walton, who I didn't know well at the time the book was written. It's called UFO Abductions, A Dangerous Game. Yes, sir. And Phil may or may not have been an employee of the American intelligence community. There is some evidence to suggest that was the case. If not, Budd was certainly the target of attacks by folks overall who I would call useful idiots, who are not government agents, but take their responsibility to warn people away from dangerous citizens like Mr. Hopkins, who obviously was deluded, that they don't have to be paid to say or pose pseudoscientific explanations or mock or attack the character if they can't attack the work or the findings or the evidence. No, he certainly had those kind of folks regularly sticking their noses in his life and trying to take him on. It cost a lot of time, I think, to rebut the worst of them, but it is something that you learn. You can ignore a lot of these people. Other times you really do have to address attacks or things that are said that are simply untrue and sometimes damaging to your character, your reputation, your ability to earn a living, or any number of other things. So,
do you think it's orchestrated, or is it just a haphazard phenomena for people to it?
Yeah, purely my opinion. I think it's probably both, but I don't think that there's a great necessity at this point to do a lot of extra orchestration on the part of the forces that be, who are the secret keepers, who like things the way they are.
To listen to the rest of this interview, please go to InceptionRadioNetwork.com and register for the Insiders Club. What is the Insiders Club? The Insiders Club is our premium content, what you've just listened to. Now, what you've just listened to is a preview of that premium content. The Insiders Club is how we pay the bills. It's how you support IRN. You join forces with IRN to get the truth out there. Now, a lot of our content is free. I mean, most of our content is free. All of our live shows are free. If you go to our archives, the vast majority of our archives are for free. But to pay the bills, to help make sure this network stays alive, stays viable, we offer those who really love our radio station, our network, and our shows an ability to support our network and become a part of IRN. Actually join forces in helping us get the truth out there. Now, how do you do this again? You go to InceptionRadioNetwork.com and you subscribe for the Insiders Club, and you'll have access to all of our archives, including this show, the rest of the show. A faster way of getting there, go to the description below this video and click on the link. And like I said, you'll be joining forces with IRN. You'll have availability of all of our content, and we really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Lorian Fenton here, host of the California MUFON radio show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.
To listen to the rest of this interview, please go to InceptionRadioNetwork.com and register for the Insiders Club. What is the Insiders Club? The Insiders Club is our premium content, what you've just listened to. Now, what you've just listened to is a preview of that premium content. The Insiders Club is how we pay the bills. It's how you support IRN. You join forces with IRN to get the truth out there. Now, a lot of our content is free. I mean, most of our content is free. All of our live shows are free. If you go to our archives, the vast majority of our archives are for free. But to pay the bills, to help make sure this network stays alive, stays viable, we offer those who really love our radio station, our network, and our shows an ability to support our network and become a part of IRN. Actually join forces in helping us get the truth out there. Now, how do you do this again? You go to InceptionRadioNetwork.com and you subscribe for the Insiders Club, and you'll have access to all of our archives, including this show, the rest of the show. A faster way of getting there, go to the description below this video and click on the link. And like I said, you'll be joining forces with IRN. You'll have availability of all of our content, and we really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Lorian Fenton here, host of the California MUFON radio show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO sky watches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.
To listen to the rest of this interview, please go to InceptionRadioNetwork.com and register for the Insiders Club. What is the Insiders Club? The Insiders Club is our premium content, what you've just listened to. Now, what you've just listened to is a preview of that premium content. The Insiders Club is how we pay the bills. It's how you support IRN. You join forces with IRN to get the truth out there. Now, a lot of our content is free. I mean, most of our content is free. All of our live shows are free. If you go to our archives, the vast majority of our archives are for free. But to pay the bills, to help make sure this network stays alive, stays viable, we offer those who really love our radio station, our network, and our shows an ability to support our network and become a part of IRN. Actually join forces in helping us get the truth out there. Now, how do you do this again? You go to InceptionRadioNetwork.com and you subscribe for the Insiders Club, and you'll have access to all of our archives, including this show, the rest of the show. A faster way of getting there, go to the description below this video and click on the link. And like I said, you'll be joining forces with IRN. You'll have availability of all of our content, and we really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Lorian Fenton here, host of the California MUFON radio show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO sky watches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.